Huh. Wow. All right. Yeah, for sure. Well. I feel like that's a personal attack a little bit, but it's fine. We'll work with that one. Hi, I'm Drakos. This is Ender. He's going to join me, and he's going to be doing his best to hold it in for the rest of the day as we kick off our first game between Rogue and SK. Ender, this is a weird one for me because I feel like Rogue is just the easy, safe bet, but I don't think you can ever 100% count out SK as they've shown us that they can surprise over the course of this split.
Yeah, and even in their game yesterday that they ended up losing to Fnatic, I thought they were pretty in control for about 20 minutes there up until the unfortunate circumstances, Crownshot getting picked out in that mid lane. So I don't think you want to write SK off too early. I also want to say, like, it's just 2 games separating these teams going in to the end of the first half of the regular season. So I am very excited to see what these teams bring out.
I agree. And of course, a lot of pressure on you to go into the break week feeling good about the team, to feel optimistic. For Rogue, it could be that 2-0 week. On the opposite side for SK, obviously want to bounce back after the difficult loss yesterday. So we're going to see, what do the strategies especially look like? Bot lane has changed significantly on this patch. While most of the other lanes feel like they're remaining the same, bot has continued to be, I think, the big focus.
Yeah, a lot of conversations around the Aphelios, around, like, do we see Kalista start to pop up, especially in a game where Hansama's on the Rift. We've already seen him pull it out once so far this split, so got to keep your eyes on that pick in particular here. SK have their eyes on it as well, and they're just going to get rid of that. While Rogue also take away the Thresh that Limit has been very, very solid on so far this split, so I think that's smart.
And just in general, we've seen a lot this Thresh TF first 2 bans from the blue side. I feel like Champion TF has proven to be incredibly versatile, something teams value, and it's a similar story for Thresh, right? He is the S-tier support that can kind of do it all, even if he isn't necessarily as good at some of the hard things like engage or disengage. He's got a bit of everything, and that's nice to have. But as I'm rambling about Thresh, we got a Syndra ban, we got Nazir ban as well. Ezreal's hit the bench, and now the AD carry pool is quite limited. Varus and Aphelios, the 2 last standing high-tier picks.
Yeah, I mean, Varus is screaming out to me, but Rogue go completely the other direction. They're going to say, let's take Larssen's Orianna in the mid lane here. So a bit of a surprise here. I assume they want to have something they can trade into that Varus if it were to be locked in here. Of course, we've seen Aphelios as a decent answer. We've also seen Ashe around the world as something good that can be run up in towards that Aphelios. But a little bit surprising to me almost to see Rogue go for the Orianna so early. Of course, Larssen's going to be fine on that no matter what around the mid lane, but as a player that I think has been so stand out for Rogue, I always like when he can hold off on draft for a little bit and get something, you know, really that he can hammer home.
Yeah, but at the same time, when we look at his Echo last week compared to his control mage performances, I feel like it never hurts to have him on a control mage. Yes, it's not as good as having a counter pick, but it never feels like a bad choice to have Larssen on something that can impact the game more and more the later the game goes on. Now, the Aphelios picked up for SK Gaming essentially has been dead in the water this week at the LEC, but it will be selected by SK Gaming over that Varus, and now Rogue are going to get the hands on it themselves.
Yeah, so the Aphelios is a strange one here because while we didn't see it picked at all yesterday, it was banned twice, and I believe those were like first phase bans on the Aphelios too. So some teams may be still considering it to be relatively powerful here. Curious to see how Crownshot can perform on that champion, especially up against the Orianna and the Varus. We've heard a lot of discussion about how do you actually beat this Aphelios, and one of the common strategies is just to hit him from very far away, and with an Orianna and a Varus and now a Gangplank ultimate, it's very easy to hit that Aphelios from a mile away.
Gangplank, I feel like the OG Aphelios, or just generally any immobile AD carry counter, obviously makes it nigh impossible to play team fights when Gangplank ult is up and available. But we'll have to see. SK Gaming, I feel like, have seen the most success so far this season when Crownshot has been put on a hyper carry and just allowed to do Crownshot things. That said, very difficult versus Rogue's composition.
And I wonder how far in advance Rogue were thinking about this GP pick, because obviously it's going to be a blind coming in for them. And they banned the Thresh, which I actually think is a really good answer into the Gangplank ultimate. In a lot of cases, you know, if you get stuck inside that slow field, you get pulled on out of there. So that seems like one that Rogue were very ready and very willing to commit to. Now, here's where things are really interesting, because Rogue haven't taken a jungler or a support, and almost all drafts you see nowadays, you see an early pick on jungle and support, because those are the safe roles. You don't really get super hard counterpicked in those 2 positions. But Rogue have given up all of the information on their individual carries here, taking a lot of champions that can, at the very least, go even in lanes. But Orianna wins a lot of lane matchups. GP can do very well, especially against a lot of tanks up on the top side of the map. So while they have taken blind picks, these are not weak very exploitable blind.
No, absolutely not. And I think generally when you look at champion tier lists, Gangplank and Ornn still the two most safe blind pickable top laners. Varus obviously a powerhouse in the bot lane, even after the nerfs in the last patch. And Orianna's been good, but the LeBlanc finally coming out, a champion that I felt like was so spicy last season. You know, was getting a lot of attention in the pick ban phase, wasn't showing up a lot because it was banned so frequently, and has kind of gone missing, let's say, since the start of summer season. So ready to see what ZaZee can do on it. He's had a few impressive performances on the Azir, on the more control mage style picks. Maybe an assassin will be more in his wheelhouse. We'll have to see.
So now with SK, do they lock in support or jungle here? Because if they hold off on top lane here, it's going to be the Malphite. That answers the question. I was going to say hold on to the support pick here, because if I have learned the SK formula at all, it is to throw everything you can for Crownshot down in the bot lane. So make sure you can get support counter pick, and then that obviously is going to open up a lot of options to play around that bottom lane, set up Crownshot for success later on in these fights.
Very interesting to see the Malphite locked in at this point. Malphite obviously was considered very good into both the Callista and the Aphelios. Varus was banned so frequently we never really got to see it. But of course, Bwipo busting this one out in the spring playoffs, and now it's kind of found its home as a second pick sort of top laner. Definitely not your first S-tier priority, but obviously very good in certain circumstances. And now Rogue are going to be rounding out their composition with the Sett, I think, heading into the jungle into the hands of Inspired, as well as now the Nautilus.
Yeah, so this is a turn of events here for this draft. Leading with this Malphite pick in the top lane, we've seen Madline sort of debut the strategy of how to beat Varus, and it's just dive onto his face and make his life very uncomfortable. And a Malphite plus a LeBlanc coming at you from different angles definitely can do that. I think Sett is a cool pick here, not just because you can have a decent early game impact, especially with the Hex Flash and these types of things, but also LeBlanc, when she wants to do damage in these team fights, is probably going to have to double distort in. If she puts herself very close to that Sett, he can pick her up very easily. You know, this LeBlanc is not going to want to itemize QSS, so it may make team fighting for ZaZee a little bit more challenging here when you have to worry about both the Sett ult and the Varus ult and the Nautilus ult.
And look, I'm going to say the additional factor there also is the potential to dunk a Malphite back into his team, which has pretty much never happened in competitive play. We never get to see the dream Sett ult. Teams almost never fall for it, but if it does happen, Inspired's going to have the greatest montage moment game of all time, Ender. Dunking a Malphite down, all that extra health, all that extra damage, one-shotting Crownshot in the back line. Like, that's the dream he's holding out for. We might not get to see it.
You got to time it right. You got to time it right. Otherwise, you just switch places when Malphite goes unstoppable. So you got to wait till he lands the ult first, then you can use yours. Otherwise, it's really
playing
awkward.
A turn-based strategy game. It's going to be Civilization here, but it's time for Rogue versus SK. And here we are. Of course, this is the final day in the first half of the split, the 9th game that both of these teams are going to be playing out of 18 in the scoreboard. Keeping them pretty neck and neck, all things considered. SK only 2 wins behind. Rogue sitting comfortably right now in second place, not contested there, but a loss here could shift that story very quickly.
And for Rogue, a lot of their strategy coming into the split has been to go for these very powerful, very strong team fighting comps, and I don't think Rogue have really mixed too much up here. We saw them experiment a little bit more with their Mad Lions game with the Echo in the mid lane. Yesterday we saw Hansama on the Syndra. All different looks for the squad, but Rogue going back to the standard here to try and swat down SK, who are trying to challenge things with, you know, the LeBlanc that can try to cause a lot of havoc in these backlines. It feels like for SK, their sort of mantra going into these later team fights is all about making the dive work, whereas Rogue definitely want to play back towards their backline a little bit more, and that's sort of the dynamic that we're going to be seeing in these fights.
And kind of the expectation that I want to set here, Ender, is that while there are so many tools to shut Crownshot down, there are no actual dashes on the Rogue lineup, unless you count Nautilus hook. So this is one of those games where if, like, outside of the point-and-click reliability of both the Sett and the Nautilus, if Crownshot's got the fancy footwork, he can have these pop-off moments in the late-game fights, even despite some of the nerfs around big objective control.
Yeah, it's very true. You know, Inspired might beg to differ when he has the Hex Flash and he's got the phase rush. He's just like running on. He was like, you know, I might not have a dash built into my kit, but I sort of make up for that because there's a million different runes that give me a ton of move speed and dashes, and that doesn't seem fair.
Okay, all I'll say is if he walks into Fog of War and a Hex Flashing Sett comes over the wall, that he doesn't deserve his highlight moment. All right, like, but
fair enough,
if they can see each other, if they front to back, I do think it's a fair point though, Andrew. Like even on paper, the execution is still going to be more difficult when we get to the actual game. But now Trick running into the mid lane. He's not going to commit to the play here. We'll just back away. And already we're seeing aggression on the top side. Jenax getting bullied here at the early levels. And bot lane has been very explosive because while Crownshot has that additional sustain coming in from the Severum, Limit does not. He's burning through pots quickly.
Yeah, he's going to be completely out of potions already. And Ooh, Jenax taken very low and now Inspired wrapping around to try and force him out of here. This is bad news for Jenax because he has to run all the way back towards that brush. It's not even like he can TP back into top lane and pick up these minions very easily. Although, as I say that, the cannon minion was just locked out of tower, so it might not be the end of the world for him, but still not easy.
And here's the difficult thing, is that in the OG matchup, Alphari was monstering Finn on this GP, and Finn was kind of looked like a weak point comparatively to the OG lineup in terms of individual laning prowess, but now Jenax has looked at the weak side blind pick that is Gangplank and said, I will get even weaker into you in the early game, and it's just giving Finn an absolute field day. At this point, he's doubling the CS, he's going back and buying a Cole because he does not care, and Jenax is in this sad, sad state where that's a fairy charm, Andrew. Like, you go back and buy a fairy charm, your lane phase already feels over if you're not playing an AD carry or Ezreal.
Yeah, it's not fun at all. Because Finn traded so aggressively, you know, burning through his potions just so he could, you know, step into the wave and fight like that, he was able to fully push in the wave to the tower. So now the wave in top lane is actually going to end up pushing back in towards him. So he's not going to lose any minions for himself up there. He's got the cull and holds on to that TP as well, which is going to be a very big deal because now we're looking at a level 6 moment where Malphite isn't going to have the TP for a big bot lane engage, whereas Finn, well, he might not even want to TP into the play, but he's definitely going to be able to impact the map with him.
See exactly how Jenax wants to optimize his build path here. Armor's always a bit difficult against GP because obviously the barrels have the additional bonus armor pen, which means if he's lining it up right, that armor's going to be a lot less valuable. Still, though, should be important despite the true damage and the armor pen on GP's kit. I imagine that we will be with the itemization we see. But bot lane does seem to be more of the focus. Trick just reset, or Inspired. Wow, I'm so used to Sett being the Trick jungle pick, Ender. I just have not seen this one yet from Inspired. Oh, Finn! Oh my God! And the Alawi emote, Finn. Feeling good about this one. I didn't think it would happen. I didn't think a weak side top laner could get a solo kill like that, but Finn out here to prove everybody wrong.
I love it. Finn just playing aggressively, knows Inspired's up around him so he can go for those types of plays. Like, you can see the power of the GP passive, resetting it off the barrel explosions as well. Was able to really punish Jenax because, again, lane was in such an awkward position for Jenax. He needed to stand in the wave to push it out, otherwise he gets frozen against him, and then he dies to a solo kill or he just dies to repeat ganks by Inspired. But yeah, this is not Jenax's time up in the top lane.
It's not, but it might not be Larssen's time in the mid lane. The flash forward, the stun gonna connect. Larssen will go down here. Trick getting something done, meanwhile, in the mid lane. So obviously, the bright side for Rogue right now is that Finn is absolutely monstering top lane, but a few kills over to LeBlanc in the early game, and could be a very difficult one for Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, I think now we're looking at a situation where if ZaZee is able to control the wave to a very nice position, there's no flash on Larssen, and ZaZee on this LeBlanc has some of the best mid lane gank setup for his team, especially at level 6 now, where he can just rock those double chains and make Larssen's life pretty miserable.
And thank you for the highlight there, observers. I like the cheeky Nautilus-y walk up with the Riptide, try to cancel the back, just maybe 10 pixels out of range to deny the back for Crownshot, but good effort from VandeR regardless.
Okay, so I actually want to take a second because I don't think Trick's going to be able to get this gank off. He just wants to make sure that Jenax can fully push in this wave. Although, as I say that, ZaZee is on the roam up here, so Finn may need to pop that ultimate to try and clear away this minion wave. Otherwise, that LeBlanc can do a lot of damage underneath the tower.
He might be overconfident here. GP all coming down. He wants to get a kill. He doesn't want that. He just wants to know. Grabs one. And it's just going to trade even there as the wave is deleted. And all things considered, I'm going to say worth.
No, that's for sure worth, because a lot of times you'll say that's not worth because you lose the minion wave, but his ult just cleared the entire wave too! Finn gets everything he could want. Now Inspired's just going to walk in for the cheeky smite steal here. And is gonna get, yeah, he goes for it.
Come on.
Get it? It's all yours.
There it is.
Well
Zoom
done.
out.
And it's also a tower dive.
There
Sure,
you
why
go.
not?
Flash forward, Facebreaker back. Crownshot has now retreated. Can go for the snare here in a second. Has the Chakram stacked up. That's going to be a lot of extra
VandeR.
damage. Never mind. Chakram fading away. And Limit now has to run for his life. Back into enemy territory. He's going to try to dash through. Not going to happen. He takes an arrow to a face, and that's going to be it. My God, Rogue everywhere on the map.
Yeah, that's the big difference between the weak sides on the map, where Finn's able to fully clear the wave and get a kill in the 1v3 situation. SK lose the camp on the bot side, get dove, Limit falls down, and Hansama's going to find the kill. So this early game going very, very well for Rogue, even though ZaZee has been able to make some moves now with the kill in the mid lane and then that rotation up towards the top side. SK are really going to need to double down on that to regain control around.
And Ender, here's the thing. We've been talking a lot recently about lethality Varus versus on-hit Varus, right? And I thought that maybe this was a game where Hansama would go on-hit because you've got this tanky front line that's going to dive on you. You know, 3 different members who are definitely going to be building some HP that would get shredded. But now that he's fed and winning bot lane, I don't mind at all that he's lethality Varus, because Crownshot is not going to get to play League of Legends if he just lands these arrows.
I mean, yeah, the arrows are definitely going to do a lot of damage. I do think there's maybe a larger discussion around the Varus itemization because, you know, for a long time now, all we've really seen is the lethality Varus, and you get memed if you build on hit. But in this game, when you see Malphite picked up against 3 physical damage dealers, Orianna being the only magic damage, you know Volibear wants to go for first item Righteous Glory in most cases, so it's going to be a lot of armor built up from the side of SK. I actually think this would be the game. If there was ever a game on the Varus to go on hit, I would have liked to see it in this one here for Hans.
I think it's absolutely fair. If he can hold on to this lead, he's not going to feel too bad about it. But we'll see if SK can keep the gold lead close as we get later and later, if Hansama will be punished for that itemization option. Because it's not a build that transitions, Ender. It just builds as much lethality as humanly possible. I don't even think we've seen attack speed items outside of maybe the late game rapid fire cannon attached to it. So it does one thing and it does it really well. But if SK are prepared to counter that one thing, can make it far enough into the game, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, the other nice thing about going on hit is it does add some magic damage to your auto attacks there with the Ginsus, the on hit from Blade Ruined King, and all these things. So there are definitely reasons to go down that route, but Hansama will have the Umbral Glaive already, which does give you a lot of control, especially if you want to continue playing around the bottom side of the map. We just saw Inspired visit down there. Finn now has his ultimate ready to go, although I think with Jenax's teleport coming up, you know, in about 20 seconds, that's going to actually thwart a lot of options for Rogue to make plays around bot lane.
And that means eyes on Finn, though, as he does have the Cannon Barrage to respond. So while he doesn't have a TP of his own, he does have an ability that can't influence the fight. VandeR stepping forward as Scryer's Bloom will be hit here, and a little more, about 1.5k gold lead alongside that Ocean Drake in favor of Rogue. They've been having a dominating performance on the top side of the map, and bot lane's starting to pull ahead as well.
I wonder if we, I mean, because the Rift Herald went over to Rogue, like, we're not going to see any sort of swaps going on, which is only going to continue to favor Rogue, because, of course, top lane and bot lane doing so well for themselves currently inside of the game. You know, SK probably would have liked, after the whole bot lane dive went down, Crownshot on a reset, would have probably loved to path up towards the top lane and look to force fights themselves, but now it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for them because, as we know, like, CS leads are starting to get a little bit out of hand, you know, not just top and bot lane, but also in mid lane. Larssen's doing very well for himself, so trying to not fall too far behind in the gold. He's just going to be down about 200 compared to ZaZee, who has that kill and the assist.
And the gold lead in top lane especially is going to be disgusting because that's 2 plates going over in favor of Finn, on top of the GP bonus gold off parlay, on top of the fact that he's 27 stacks away from completing that coal. So it's going to be a big, big top lane difference. So even if Jenax has all that armor, the rest of SK are going to have to be scared. And I do like what we saw at the bottom lane Ender there in that last play where Rogue are like, we're level 7, we're level 6. You're level 6 and level 5. If you're walking forward, your jungler is like clearly here, or your Oscar award-winning actors. So they just back off, they give that respect, and I like it because they're just extending lane phase. They're not giving SK any chances to utilize their composition, and they're just relying on stronger lanes to snowball ahead.
Yeah, so SK are like, how do we actually make something happen? I think it's going to start, you see both ZaZee and Limit together in the river, trying to drop down some control wards, clear this pathway down towards the dragon. But at the same time, Rogue are saying, we actually got the first Drake of the game. We could care less about, you know, however many percent of armor and MR you get from that dragon. We're just going to take this top lane tower.
Yeah, walking it in. That's going to be one. Jenax no longer has a tower to stand under. He's used his little discus to zoom on out and sadly, that's it. There's no real response there from SK Gaming.
No, and Trick feels terrible because he's trying to path up top lane to help out that lane, but he was on the wrong side of the map. SK were trying to set up a play bot lane, right? Jenax has TP. You want to make something happen. Dragon just spawned. You see Herald go top side. This is when you want to move in and take the Drake. And yes, SK are making the move over there now, but the problem with this is it's not an even trade objective for objective because now, because Trick's delayed bot side, Inspired took that Raptor camp in the top lane. You know, the Krugs were an option for him and Finn to go for as well, as Finn fully pushed that wave towards the top lane too. So Rogue are going to wing out in the larger picture even then, based on golden experience.
Very difficult game for SK as the gold lead continues to snowball out of control in the favor of Rogue. 21.6 to 18.2. And I wonder at what point, now that the top lane's tower is down, do we see Rogue start to split up the map a little bit more, make bigger macro moves, or are they just going to continue to keep the same lane assignments over and over again until SK actually force them to get out of this?
Rogue are running it back. Osama, you know, queued bot lane and he's not leaving that lane. He's gonna stick around.
It's full commitment, man. It's the solo.
Look, you get banned in champ select now if you don't go to your roles, so you gotta stay within the lines of the law.
Look, you gotta keep it focused, Christy. I respect it. You know, this is the solo queue classic. Just win across multiple lanes, stay there as long as possible. Your advantage only belongs to you. Don't share it with the rest of your team by any means. Just continue to bully your opponent's laner. So, and look, I can't knock it. It's working. Crownshot is having a difficult game so far. Obviously only a 10 CS difference, but not even completing a first item here. And this is one of the truly terrifying points of Varus, is that while Crownshot has gone back on some awkward gold numbers, leading to this cloak for, you know, 20% crit chance, Varus just gets to buy more and more longswords. So he's always getting value out of backs.
Yeah, and with Death Dance nerfs, I'm curious to see if Crownshot still goes for it. Armor, of course, very valuable. Is good flash away from Crowny.
Limit, though, gonna be in trouble here. Ooh, nice flash. Instant double TP.
Double teleport.
SK wanted to make something happen, and this just could be it. And now we're gonna get the knockup. ZaZee now leaping forward, putting all the damage onto VandeR. VandeR gonna be in trouble. That's the follow-up from Crownshot, but he goes golden. He buys a bit more time. Suplex back down. Jenax under the tower. This is not good. Rogue still alive. Hansama's gonna get a kill back. That was so disastrous.
It is doomed for SK with that play bot side. We've been waiting for 5 minutes for them to pull the trigger on that one, and they lose to an Aftershock and a stopwatch Nautilus. Like, they can't finish off the kill. Crownshot's ultimate doesn't connect because VandeR dodged that one out with the invulnerability, and Finn is still top lane, pushing down on that tower, although now there are two people coming in, and I'm curious to see if he can come out alive on this.
All right, flash forward, chilling Smite. LeBlanc needs to land everything. Finn stepping into the Thunder there. It's a bit unfortunate. He doesn't have quite enough health to survive here, and he will get dropped. So shut down over to ZaZee. Not who you want to give it to, but we'll call it a valiant effort anyway.
Look, early game has not been going well for SK, but credit to ZaZee. He has been in every lane simultaneously. Like, he literally just made that play bot lane teleporting in and then sprints immediately to the top lane to try and hold on to that turret, and they do get the kill, so good move coming through from him, but I still am skeptical of if it is enough now, because Rogue have been playing the map, dominating the map, while SK are trying to, you know, go into lane and pick up any CS they possibly can. Well, Finn now has a 3,000 gold lead over Jenax, even though the armor stackers for SK are supposed to counter the lethality Varus. If they don't get their items, if they don't get armor, they're never going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and this is just a brutal game for SK Ender, right? Because Jenax has just lost lane so totally and completely that there's nothing that you can do. And they tried to put some resources top lane to bail him out. They tried to make it work. It didn't. Finn was still able to trade 1-for-1 when they burned all these resources, which means SK just put themselves even further behind in other lanes as well as we check out this replay.
See what's going down in this one, because there's that bot lane play, right? So SK do a good job flashing away from the initial engage, right? Like Limit does a good job right there, but of course then the teleports come in, and ZaZee makes the choice, says let's jump onto VandeR, right? He doesn't have, you know, a lot of HP, he's only level 7, but he has stopwatch and he has Aftershock, and of course if he goes on Hansama, there's still a flash and a cleanse on that, so there's not really a great choice to jump onto. Jenax gets dropped underneath the tower, and the follow-up simply isn't there without those key abilities connecting.
Yikes. I don't want to say that's the final nail in the coffin because it's 16 minutes into the game, but it is...
It's a 5K gold lead.
It's a 5K gold lead at 16 minutes. It's about to extend further as this tower goes down. SK continuing to fish for plays, but at this point they are just pretty much outmatched across the board. The one strong point for them right now is ZaZee on this LeBlanc, but his Rogue are not walking solo into side lanes, or at least the vulnerable members aren't. It's going to be very difficult for him to utilize that gold lead to its full effectiveness.
Yeah, and now I'm wondering, with the Drake spawning very soon, are SK going to try to fight this? Because they have just finished their first items, and I don't think the game necessarily gets a lot easier the later we go on, as VandeR will try to catch out ZaZee. Nice dodge away, deals a lot of damage.
Excellent shockwave, pulling it back on that one, and I like this. Rogue collapsing on the lane that they know is doing reasonably well so far, making sure the LeBlanc is out of the fight, means that they're pretty comfortable to push forward. Still have to respect the engage coming in here from the Volibear and the Leona, but Crownshot can do a lot of damage if he's left untouched in a fight, but still only level 10, only one item. So while the guns are good, the stats and the items just are not there yet.
Right, and Larssen gonna go back to base, has the option to teleport in. SK without any control on the map are not gonna be able to realistically contest around this Drake. I actually really don't like that Jenax is being brought down towards this middle lane. It seems like they do want to try to force a fight, but like put him top lane, get some CS, do something.
Goodbye to Limit. He's trying to figure out which way he needs to walk. He's gonna go golden as he dashes in. Jenax will make it out with the use of his ultimate, but Limit will go down. In the meantime, it was all a distraction, Enter, as Infernal Dragon has been picked up.
The best part is Limit tosses out his E and uses the stopwatch before it connects. So he's like this golden statue flying through the air towards his target, only to be delivered into the waiting hands of Hansama and fall down. So yeah, that was a little desperate, seems like, from SK. They do end up getting the Drake, though.
Yeah, and this is one of those cases where as we start to approach the second half of the split, we really need to look at like what still seems relevant, what results still feel relevant from the first half of the split. And as SK continue to really struggle against the other top teams, it's feeling like they're just on the cusp of no longer making playoffs if they continue this trajectory, because XL are slowly starting to get better. Vitality have looked pretty solid as well, and while Origin are also suffering, there's just so many good teams at the top of the table, Rogue being one of them. And yeah, time is slowly but surely running out for SK to figure out how to actually win an early game with a comp like this.
All right, so it looks like Inspired ended up hex flashing out of the pit there, and just let Trick run on in and steal away the Drake. So SK now looking to set up a play down towards this bottom side, go for the dive.
Then gonna try to sidestep, flash through back into his own barrel. Is gonna get locked up. They're gonna have enough damage to finish off Finn here, but Larssen is now in the area, does have the ultimate. Inspired can't step forward, pull back. It's gonna be the double face breaker, the dunk back down on a Trick. That's massive damage. Now he's gonna ult himself right back out, but that's the shockwave to pull it back in. VandeR on the hunt for this LeBlanc. ZaZee gonna flash to safety, but still, for everything that SK get, Rogue seem to get just a little bit more.
Yeah, SK continue to try and force using ZaZee to find plays in side lanes, but they're outgunned and outmanned at this point in the game, with Crownshot and Jenax still trying to pick up farm in those side lanes. Rogue able to come in easily, pick up the kills, and now Hansama goes for the solo.
Should be able to pick this one up. Crownshot gonna try to heal. Extra movement speed takes him out to safety. If the arrow connects, the flash response, and neither one is gonna drop.
All right, that was a huge clencher moment right there when Crownshot flashes in the straight line. You're like, does Hansama have enough range for this? I think he does. It was very, very close right there at the end. Crowny will end up surviving, but this is bad news for SK Gaming.
We're going to need to work on our vocabulary. I think that's the lesson that we're learning this game.
I think we just say bad news a lot.
We just say bad news a lot. It's like, how else do you describe it? Because like, you guys have eyes. You play solo queue, watching there in Twitch chat. You know this game is pretty much over. You know, but if you're a true solo queue believer, you stay till the end because you always know there's the potential to throw. And if you're ZaZee, you say, look, I can carry this. But it is a monumental mountain to climb here for SK. So, bad news. Safe to say.
Yeah, I think we were raised different ways, because I thought when you started losing, you're supposed to spam FF. Like, I don't know. That's my solo queue strength.
Look, all I'm saying is Felix, you know, 5 accounts in Challenger, dude never surrenders, you know? He's got that anime protagonist attitude. Just keeps going.
Well, Limit literally just surrendered on my screen, so flashes over the wall without even a skill shot coming. He knew he was in trouble.
No, when you're getting out mobility by the Orianna, it's not a good game. Larssen on a killing spree, uses that flash to find the 1v1 kill.
Poor ZaZee.
And
he'd been having a good game, right? You know, set up for a gank in mid lane, had these roams 2-0-2, but no, he got Orianna.
Yikes. Ender, I don't like this Malphite, dude. The more that I think about it, the more I don't like it. And not because of the performance that we're seeing. I think it's been a difficult lane for certain, but we'll hold that thought as now the GP ult is coming down. The follow-up coming there for Inspired. He's going to pull back. Crownshot going to get doped back right into the team. That's the suplex. Goodbye to your only damage source. And the tank has arrived, but to do what? It looks like trying to kill Hansama. He's going to try to walk away from this one. Flashing forward. Hansama's still alive. They're pulled back. Hansama's still alive.
No!
Oh, the great escape. Houdini himself finds a way out of that team fight. And Trick's going to get one back, but Rogue just continued to come out on top.
Houdini? Really? I think he literally just walked in a straight line away, and SK couldn't hit him. Poor Trick's trying to flash forward and get the final auto attack. Hansama, he did pop his corrupting potion. I just saw, so survived because of that. Houdini just popped the corrupting, and you're
like
gonna
if Houdini was, you know, cut out of those boxes he was in by his 5 best friends, and if that was the story of Houdini.
Sounds like how you do it. Anyways, Hex Flash of the wall from Inspired, able to just line up on Crownshot. It is, it's rough right there, but then watch this, because this is the idea for SK's comp. It's like, let's kill Hansama. Problem is, they can't kill Hansama. Everyone layers up. The good shockwave there ends up denying a little bit of bonus damage from both Limit and Jenax, and then Trick losing vision for a second around the wall, and then
that canceled auto is actually miserable, Ender. That's so sad for Trick.
Yeah.
But this is probably the problem when your fight starts with Crownshot getting one shot. You don't really have the damage there to finish him off.
That's not the Twitch, the spam you want to see when it's instead of Crownshot, it's just one shot.
Oh, no. Why'd people sad?
Why'd people sad?
Get out of this one. Maybe SK, as they start to group up, they're TPing mid. No one in the history of League of Legends has forced harder than SK this game. They are determined to find a way in. Of course, at this point in the game, you could normally say Aphelios with the white gun and the red gun could, in theory, threaten a very greedy Baron, but with the most recent set of nerfs, it's just no longer possible.
They can threaten minion waves still. That's something they got going for them. Eventually the supers might be a little bit of trouble, but we'll see. And hey, SK, they got an Infernal Drake earlier, so at least they don't have to deal with a soul fight coming up anytime soon.
That's true, that's true. More Infernal.
For the glass half full.
Really?
Look at chat right now. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I can't hold it.
It's fine. You just gotta keep it together. SK trying to keep it together too. ZaZee gonna take a lot of damage here. He's trying to get something. Blast coming out to safety, gets a little bit more damage on that tower. That standing gold will still be there, but he's doing what he can. You know, he works a 9-to-5 job. He's trying to put that bacon on the table. He's trying to bring it home for the fam. You know, 7K gold deficit. He's got to work that off. We've all been there. We got bills to pay. We got that credit card debt. ZaZee's just trying to make it better. You know, one tower.
He's just trying to provide
one tower auto at a time, guys. He's just trying to provide the carry that SK needs.
I feel like there's like TV shows about like a little episode of Breaking Bad, but I'm not sure how he was supposed to make money. He's just a high school teacher. Feels bad, man.
Just a LeBlanc. He's supposed to be one-shotting kids in the side lane. He was never supposed to hit towers, folks. It was never supposed to happen, but here we are. You know, life comes at you fast.
Maybe you can start selling some Leandries or something. Make a profit on the side, a little side hustle. Hey, Finn's buying. Finn's looking to buy.
There you go.
You'll love to see it. Okay, this looks a little crazy up in the top lane here. If you guys haven't been aware, I think Finn's done this once before. Have seen it. Arome, I think, did it as well. Theory here behind the old Leandry's Torment is the Madness passive. You stack it up in combat, get yourself bonus damage because it applies to all sorts of damage. It's not just.
Oh, there you go. Working as hard as he can. Poor ZaZee. Danger at every corner is going to get picked out. The flash from Hansama now on a rampage. There was no mobility left. He'd lined up the dashes that even if he snapped back, he probably would have gotten killed anyway.
Oh, meanwhile, bot lane, TPs are coming in, but I think SK just going to give up on that one immediately.
Jenax is already ulted out to safety. Crownshot going to set up the turret. It will zone a little bit, but flash forward from Inspired. The flash response. Limit caught into the backside, and he's all on his lonesome. Hansama now unstoppable.
Honestly, Hansama's a professional KSer. Like, he just shows up at the end, it's like, pew, with his arrow, gets the last hit. Like, yeah, guys, I did all the work, no problem.
I mean, okay, what do you expect Lethality Varus to do? He has one skill, and it's Q, and if he hits it, it's a big burst of damage. Come on. Cut the man some slack. He can't exactly auto-attack very quickly.
See, even Hansama agrees with me. He just tossed the thumbs up for us. He knows.
All right. We were talking about desperation. Well, this most certainly is it. Trick was going to try to steal an objective. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, though. Crownshot's been knocked up, isolated, taken out. Trick's going to jump back over the wall to safety. Blast Cone will be denied, and Rogue are going to take a slow but steady Baron as they continue forward in absolutely dominant fashion in this game.
Yeah, I was thinking like, wow, this game feels like it's slow, but it's just because Rogue had been in control the entire time, right? Like they have a massive advantage. We're only 26 minutes in. Probably going to use this Baron to try and break up the base. What happens to poor ZaZee here? Oh, just gets ulted over the wall.
Yeah, here's the Q, and then no matter where he goes, he's doomed. He can go back, but he knows, oh, never mind. We're going to watch this one instead.
We're not even going to watch it. We don't even
want
want to watch on someone
it's
gets a kill.
It's a family-friendly show. We can't watch that.
We can only show people getting to the brink of death. We can't actually see the rest.
The ult to the Blast Cone.
Wow.
Dark times.
That is a high APM Malphite gaming right there. Not only did he ult, he also auto-attacked a specific point on the map.
All right, so here's, if I had to criticize Rogue, Ender, so here, I guess this is more of a question to you. Would you criticize Rogue for not closing out faster? Because normally if you get a really big gold lead early on, never mind, they're going to fight. I know that thought. All right,
I'm like, nah.
Trouble goes golden, buys a bit of time here as Trick's going to come out, but he just gets dunked away, and now it's VandeR flashing over the wall, but ZaZee's still running. Boom. Gangplank takes the shot to the face, comes down, finishes that one off, and Trick, run, little bear, run, no! He's an endangered species.
I was trying to steal it again.
Finn.
Oh, look at Finn.
Might get taken out. Maybe they can get one. That's the shutdown for Jenax. He swag walks out. Revenge for late phase. The game's been turned. Rogue are back in it. I'm kidding.
It was all worth it. Jenax has been waiting for this moment. 3 seasons later, finally comes back. He gets the kill.
Throws his headset on the ground, stands up, pops out. He's like, that's why you picked Malphite. Oh!
Then he realizes he's in a house with, you know, his 4 teammates. No one can actually hear or see him. And he's still losing to Rogue.
It's fine. It's a difficult game for SK, most certainly. And obviously a very one-sided game, which is why I think we're, I guess the British phrase would be taking the piss a little bit. We're just having a good time with it because, like, SK, until there's 3 items for Crownshot, we're kind of waiting. Until SK show up, we're just going to assume that they've already left, I guess is the philosophy.
Hey, you know, we can take a moment. You know, he said 3 items for Crownshot. He's not building Death's Dance, so that's a little learning moment here. Looks like Crownshot not a believer in the old Death's Dance after the nerfs to ranged users.
I think that's fair. Only 10%.
That's what I've got. What do you have?
I've got G2s and the Fanatics and the Mad Lions are really good at closing out with like 6K gold leads in 10 minutes, but I think I can understand why Rogue would struggle. We've seen this historically a lot in League of Legends, never mind.
Dude, VandeR's hooks have been on point all weekend. Like,
oh, are you golf clapping into your mic? That's next level remote.
Golf clapping into my mic.
Technology.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have fans in the audience that can do it, so I might as well just like give the extra experience in there.
All right. Here we go. Let's give the see if we give the fans another reason for a round of applause here, Ender. Is Rogue, can they close out with this Baron? Crownshot firing off to the side, only going to hit 1 though. Not the ideal use of the ultimate there. ZaZee's trying to poke forward, but he just takes so much damage in response. That's limits, ult's gone. Jenax still has ult, level 15. He's going to go in, they go golden. He literally hits no one. That is not the ult that you need. Volibear now dunking down into the back line. Maybe they can get something. Jenax is now dead. Trick simply next on the list. ZaZee running for his life as his clone takes the bullet for him. And, well, the 2 carries are left standing, but every single other member is dead. ZaZee suplex down, dies midair anyway, and Crownshot versus the world. Well, we've been here before, but I imagine this time it's just going to be the Rogue win. Domination from start to finish. An absolute monster in the top lane is Finn as all of Rogue smash through SK here in their final game of the first round robin, ending out 7-2, pushing down SK to 4-5.
That's huge for Rogue. You know, I think expectations were so high for this team coming into the spring split and didn't necessarily quite live up to them at the final hurdle. So to come into summer and just absolutely smash right out of the gate, 7-2, it is a very good sign for this team. And as you rightfully said, Finn was absolutely smashing through that top lane. Even though, you know, maybe got picked onto the side lane a few times, he made the game completely unplayable for SK.
Yeah, that was a rough one. As they say in the biz. Let's see who we got for the Kia Poggers.
Are you wearing matching shirts?
Mine is 2 different shirts cut together and put together, but almost.
Oh.
Almost. I have Rotterdam and Athens.
Wow. Okay. Just trying to one-up me. I get it. Who are the players?
I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Tell me in my ear, magical producers. I can see them on my screen. It's
I can see it on
Larssen,
screen.
VandeR. Those are your
Nice.
choice for key player of the game. When we come back, we're going to have an excellent post-match breakdown. We're going to see exactly what happened here. And until then, we'll see you shortly.
Charged up.
Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
Welcome back to the LEC, where Rogue just secured their 7th win of the split. It was an amazing first round robin, and we're gonna break down how they did it. I was trying to emulate my Drakos as best as I could.
I want to be really clear. Trevor was like, we need jazz hands. Everyone, please look at what Vedius is doing.
Okay, so for context.
Excuse me, he's over here.
Draco said, Draco says toss us, we're going to toss us to the Analyst desk for some breakdown. And so Trevor and I was like, welcome to the breakdown.
The best part about this,
these are not spirit.
You can tell how excited we are. We're having a great time. It is the end of the first half of the summer season. Let's jump straight into this. Rogue absolutely clapped SK. Keck W, I'm told. Let's look at the draft. Talk me through the picks and bans, because I was quite surprised. Very early lock-in on the LeBlanc for ZaZee. Definitely not something we see him play a huge amount. And then the Malphite surprised me a little bit as well. So, Vedius, when you stop laughing, talk me through this draft.
I put in the tea. Trevor, give it to me. Okay, excuse my unprofessional Vedius over here. The draft... The Malphite, I'll start there because you seem confused about it, Trevor. The Malphite is there because it's a Varus, and Varus is considered very strong, but low mobility. So when you see AD carries like Aphelios or Varus, you pick the rock and you throw the rock at them. Unfortunately, the rock never got to play the game. He was shot in the face multiple times by a pirate, and we already heard about that breakdown on Cass, but the specific one that we want to look at is the LeBlanc and the Volibear. Now, Vedius, take it away.
All right, so if our beautiful production team wouldn't mind just showing us the draft, thank you so very much. As you can see, the thing about a LeBlanc plus Volibear duo, incredibly strong. Any pro player that you speak to will tell you that Volibear is like one of the strongest duelists in the game right now, very impactful in the early game. When you pair it up with a LeBlanc, you have a very powerful 2v2 mid-jungle combo. Typically, you want to use that mid-jungle combo and then move it to the side lane. So when you have something like a Leona bot lane, it makes sense that you want to go from mid into bot. The problem is that because the side lanes lost so hard, with the GP playing up through the top side of the map and just dumpstering Jenax in the 1v1, the fact that the bot lane couldn't play 2 versus 2, and this was before what actually happened in the game, because GP has a lot of prio in that top lane matchup with Varus and Nautilus too, a lot of strong 2v2, like, it's a lot harder to be able to make those roams successful because you don't have easy side lanes to actually play around. And I think that Rogue demonstrated beautifully how they can use their stronger side lanes in the early game to just play around with SK's comp and actually never give SK the opportunity to get the ball rolling.
And we really need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that, yes, those side lanes lost, and yeah, some of it was matchup, but also some of it was just, frankly, getting styled on. It felt like pound-for-pound talent-wise, Rogue just outplayed, outmaneuvered, outthought, outpressed their buttons, the SK members. It was pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah, it certainly was. I think that individually, Rogue showcased that you can't just, push them around. Like, these guys are some of the best in the league for a reason. We've already been praising Larssen for being a top mid laner. We already spoke about VandeR being a top support in Europe. Inspired is having a great split. Hansama still, I think it's nice to see Hansama kind of perform at a level that he wasn't at last split. And Rogue, Finn rather, while being a little inconsistent, demonstrates what he can do when you give him comfort picks and when you give him the ability to actually run away with the matchup.
And it was really this addition of the Hansama and then Hansama plus VandeR that I think took Rogue to the next level. Because again, when they first came in, they were like our dark horse. We were very excited about Rogue. We knew that they were a smart team, but they needed the individual talent to shine. And now it feels like it's really finally paid off that VandeR is having an incredible split. Hansama is now being the Hansama that everyone always expected him to be, that mechanical beast, now playing things like the Syndra and not just the Draven. So it's exciting times to be a Rogue fan.
It really is. If I can zoom out really quickly and Vedius ask you, you keep talking about how SK, they've kind of, to put in a more professional sense, like one-dimensional in many ways, that if they get a recipe for success, it can work.
Yep.
Did you think this was the recipe? Because you in particular were surprised by that LeBlanc and how early it was in the draft for ZaZee.
Yeah, I felt like that it was a little different from what we conventionally see from them. When you have things like Malphite, Leona, or Aphelios, that's already kind of setting you up for a very typical 5v5 front-to-back teamfight comp that SK have found a lot of success with. And when Froskurinn and I were looking at the draft, number one, we were quite surprised that they banned the Azir themselves. Obviously, you still want to respect Larssen's Azir because it is, of course, very good. Excuse me, but... there were other options, things like he played the Ziggs yesterday. You also could have considered something like a Corki as well. And I think that they had options to just commit to the 5v5, but they wanted to try something a little bit different. And I think props to ZaZee, he actually had a really solid game. The casters talked a lot about it. I think that he was set up for success. It was just that the map was falling apart all around him, that we didn't really get to see what he could do with a strong LeBlanc in his hands.
Yeah.
And I then also want to kind of focus back on Rogue and just kind of talk about how dominant they are. If Rogue get a lead, they don't lose the game. We have often used words about like a formula, methodical, and that used to be one of their weaknesses, but now they're so crisp, they're so clean, and what held them back behind a team like Origin, who plays a similar style, was that they individually couldn't match up to the talent. Particularly the bot lane. You know, the upset Destiny lane was stronger at the time than the previous bot lane that they had. But now with VandeR and Hansama performing, I think VandeR and Hansama are stronger than the upset Destiny lane. I think Larssen is stronger than NukeDuck. And I think that's why you're suddenly now seeing Rogue rip that mantle away from Origin as kind of like the premier team of how to play this play style is those individual members.
Absolutely the case. And we've got a few minutes just before we go to an ad break. I do need to announce the Kia player of the game. Froskurinn, this is going to make you so happy. For the first time during summer, VandeR has been selected. The fans voted for him with 50% of the votes. And
he was so
Frost,
good.
I want you to first talk a little bit about VandeR on that Nautilus, and then let's zoom out. 7-2 on the split for Rogue so far, 4-5 for SK. We will see them after a break week. But, you know, now we finished the first half, and Frost, I'll come to you in a second. Vedius, I want you to jump in there first.
Well, props to VandeR. I think he played super well, but I also kind of wanted to tie into Frost's point because for Rogue, yesterday, we saw what we kind of saw last split, where they'd have a really convincing set of plays for X amount of time, and then they'd randomly throw after a single mistake. And I just feel like that their overall play has cleaned up. It ties in with what Frosk was saying, where individually they're performing better, but also just the team as a whole understands the game better and is way more consistent at executing upon their plays. And I think that's so important, and why I think we're seeing Rogue and Mad Lions level up to challenge for these top spots here in Europe.
That's the smart stuff. I want to say some nice words about VandeR. I'm a Nautilus player. I don't have hands, and Nautilus really covers that, but VandeR played this Nautilus with perfect brain and perfect hands. Flashing to look for auto attacks, repositioning to make sure that he chains the CC with the hook. It was so clean. He is so clean on champions like Thresh and Nautilus. It is just a joy to watch. Congratulations, VandeR. You are finally being recognized for how talented
Froskurinn, I have one question before we round this out. You talked about how when Rogue get ahead, they stay ahead, they win. The two losses that Rogue have picked up thus far was when they fell behind. So now when you look forward into the second half of summer, when you look forward towards Worlds, how much faith do you have in Rogue, and how much faith do you have in other teams trying to stop them getting that lead?
When you go against Rogue, the only way to beat them is that you must contest them and challenge in the lane. You cannot let them play their formula style and just sprint away from you. So that's why it's so fun to have like this stylistic mismatch of like the Rogues and the Origins. Guess who's now in the top order there? And the Mad Lions, the G2s, and the Fanatics.
All right, Vedius, you might as well throw in your final thoughts.
No,
I'm putting you on the spot.
We've got
Our producer's got to unplug us.
Okay.
And we are just minutes away from our second game of the day. Vitality versus Origin. Look for a huge win before the mid-season break. Bye-bye.
Spirit fingers.
We have too much energy. We need to...